We don't want to see is what's going down in the Gila right now. This is the Signal Fire. It's just north of Silver City. Good news this morning is that firefighters finally getting a lot better control of it. It's about 90% contained. They do say this one was started by a person or people. And as we head into the Memorial Day weekend, you know, there are going to be a lot of campers headed out, sparking up campfires and so much more. We want you to do that and have fun. We also want you to be safe. Dan Ware with the State Forestry Division is here to talk about how to stay safe when you go camping. Good morning, Dan. It's good to see you.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Okay, let's talk about this. It seems like such a something that we say over and over again, like a broken record, but
right.
You cannot be careful enough out in the woods right now.
That's right. And, you know, especially with that weather system that's moving through the state here, going to bring us some rain here and there, people might be thinking, well, we don't have to worry about it as much. And the fact is that we are in a drought across much of the state. And even when we get these little weather systems in, that water dries up very quickly. And so two of the biggest tools that you need to have when you go out camping this weekend is a shovel, and make sure you've got some water, because if you're going to have a campfire, if the area you're going to is allowing campfires, you need to be able to put that campfire out no matter when you leave. If you're just going for a hike or you're running back into town for some food, you need to make sure that campfire is out and cold to the touch.
All right, so do not leave it burning if you're not there.
Not even smoldering.
Period.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, what are some other good tips that folks need to know, things they just may forget about?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when you get to the campsite and if there is an existing fire ring, use that. Don't create a new one, because we want to leave as little impact as possible.
Sure.
Make sure it's surrounded by rocks and it's big enough to contain your fire, and that the vegetation around it has been removed. You want bare earth around where that fire ring is. And then start it safely. Don't let the kids mess around with the matches. Don't use gas to start the fire.
No.
Well, you know, it's hard to start a fire sometimes.
Yeah.
When you want one, it's hard to start it.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, but think about using some common sense, and don't use any kind of accelerants, gasoline, kerosene, whatever, to start that fire, and maintain it. Don't ever walk away from it. Always keep an eye on it.
Okay, and you talk about that vegetation, you want it away. I mean, that stuff might as well be gasoline out there. It is so dry. You get that thing lit, and it's going to spread pretty quickly, won't it?
That's absolutely right. With the way our winds are in the springtime, they whip through those mountains, and if you've got a fire going, even if it's just coals at this point, you can get a wind in there and spread the ash and the cinder or the embers into nearby vegetation, and also nearby tents. So make sure your tents are well away from the fire. You certainly don't want to end your weekend with a bunch of burned down tents. And yeah.
No, not at all. And you mentioned this before. You talked about the idea. Some places do have fire restrictions right now. It's different depending on where you go.
Right now, there are no state fire restrictions that are put on by state forestry, and those cover state and private lands. But some of the national forests and the state land office does have their own fire restrictions, but most of the camping areas that are like state parks are covered by state forestry fire restrictions. And so the best way, and what we tell everybody, is know before you go. Check out nmfireinfo.com, and there's a link to all current restrictions, whether they're local, state, federal, what have you, across New Mexico. We don't want you to show up at a camping area thinking you're going to have a nice big fire to toast the marshmallows, and all of a sudden you can't. And so, but know before you go. nmfireinfo.com is the site.
Great advice. You can get a link to that at casa.com. Click on the Casa blog. Dan, good to see you.
Thanks for coming
in. It's great advice. You want people to have fun. Just be careful.
Yeah, personal responsibility and common sense.
Okay, sounds good. Have a great holiday weekend. It's 8:20.